Now the fun begins.
Budget.
Stop! You violated the law.
What's good, everybody, and welcome to the bonus accessory Game Pass Gamecast. I'm your host, Travis White, aka Travelers, on most internet platforms, and today, we're shaking up the formula on the show and playing you, the listener, a different tune. Now, normally, every Friday, you'll hear us covering a certain series or game found on the Game Pass service. But, this week, we loosen the metaphoric tie. I mean, not that it's tied that tight to begin with, but you get the picture. And jump down a rabbit hole on a bunch of different topics in the current gaming landscape. Starts with our new segment called Party Chat, where we encourage you, the listener, to write into the show with your gaming questions and topics for us to discuss. And to be quite honest, with this week's question, we kind of just kept talking that we felt it would make for a good standalone episode. Don't worry, we will still be covering games and series specific to Xbox Game Pass, but we thought this would kind of make for a cool divergence from the norm. So, before we jump into that, just a bit of housekeeping. Our YouTube channel's name has changed. No longer is the channel just under the main bonus accessory channel. The show now has its own direct channel. Just search Game Pass Gamecast on YouTube and be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell to stay up to date with us. Those who have previously subscribed on YouTube, don't worry, we already got you. You are automatically subscribed to the new channel, so you won't miss out on your favorite nerds spin those hot video game takes. So, with that being said, sit back, relax, enjoy this week's episode. Well, I mean, unless you're driving, which in that case, pay attention to the road, you dumbass. Enjoy! With that being said, we're going to transition into a new segment called Party Chat. As you can guess, Party Chat is where you guys chat with us, where you submit questions on any gaming topic. It can be about life, too. It can be about anything as long as it circles back to gaming in some way. So, our first ever question submitted from Quinn W. Quinn W., thank you so much for listening, one. And two, thank you so much for submitting a question. This question's actually good. I've been thinking about it recently. So here it is. Quinn asks, with Remedy Entertainment reacquiring the rights to the Alan Wake franchise from Microsoft, they're the people who are making Control that's coming out soon. They've kind of made some out there games, if you want to put it, like Quantum Break. Really experimental, I think is a good way. But they recently reacquired Alan Wake, which was a Microsoft Xbox exclusive title. They reacquired it from Microsoft. So Quinn asked, is there any other IP or intellectual property franchises, yada yada, that you'd want to see either reacquired or returned to its initial developer or even publisher or somebody new? Do you want to see somebody either reacquire rights to a game that they once had, or do you want what's a game and a studio you would love to see kind of get together? Adam, I'll kick it to you.
Okay. So I looked at this question when we were preparing for the show, and I gotta say, I don't even know what the possibilities are. Like, I don't know what IPs are being locked down right now, that they're out of reach of the original developers, and they're kind of stagnant, and nothing has come out for a while. Like,
this is, and I want you to throw, to an extent, reality out the window. Like, what do you think when you're like, man, I really like how X developer develops games. I'd love to see them either grab this game, or even, hey, I think this is it's a possibility that Microsoft could pick up X Studio. You know, or just in general, what's something you would like to see, whether it's they once had it, or even something new, like, hey, I'd just love to see that studio take over.
I'd have to think a little bit more about that, but I will say, we are kind of in a golden age of, that's already happening. Like, you see a bunch of studios that have been acquired, especially in the last year, by Microsoft. You have Obsidian, In Exile, both, like, wildly cult popular with computer RPGs. You've got, Playground, who's been making Forza. I think they finally got acquired by Microsoft.
It's Forza.
Oi, governor, Forza here!
If you don't say it Forza, people are going to be angry, so it's Forza Motorsports.
Oi, governor, fish and chips in your core!
Forza. Compulsion, they make We Happy Few. They're an indie studio, I think. I think We Happy Few is their breakout title. And recently Double Fine, they did Psychonauts and Brutal Legend, among other things. Tim Schafer, kind of a household name in gaming. These are all studios that have been picked up by Microsoft, and it seems like their strategy is to just give them resources and put them to work and let them make their magic like like their fans know they will, you know? So I'd have to really think about it if I was gonna try to come up with another studio or game or franchise that hasn't had that opportunity yet.
Mike, I'm gonna kick it to you. What do you think, man? I'm putting you on the spot.
Bungie, Halo,
I mean that's a soft toss.
Kiss.
Obviously.
That's a hot take.
Kiss.
No, kid.
No, kid.
No, but what's something, even just a reboot or something like that you would like to see? Take, even if you want to, out of it, take the IP reacquiring or whatever. Just, what's something you would like to see, fan fiction wise, of, oh, I'd love to see this and this get together and just,
I mean, this isn't going to answer your question specifically what you're looking for.
And I'm tweaking it on the go. Sorry, Quinn. I'm tweaking it a little bit.
But, Quinn, I gotta say, man, like, we're covering this game today. Like, having the head of Team Ninja get back with Team Ninja and work on something that's truly special again. Because I feel like with Ninja Gaiden Black, or the original Ninja Gaiden Black, and then Ninja Gaiden 2, they really had a special thing going. And then they kind of messed it up with Ninja Gaiden 3. Then the Team Ninja head left, and now, you know what I mean? It's all in limbo. We don't know when the next Ninja Gaiden is coming, if it ever will. And that's what I would like to see. I'd like to see a new Ninja Gaiden. Not selling out for the Game Pass, whatever. That's just what I want. I want another good Ninja Gaiden game, because there's nothing like putting in that Ninja Gaiden, playing it, learning how to beat every enemy that you have to beat, and sense of accomplishment you get from winning.
Definitely, I agree. I think that'd be... I think the time's right.
It's definitely not a game genre that's out of style by any means. You know, Bayonetta in the last couple of years, Devil May Cry. There are still, I think God of War has kind of gone off that formula a bit, but there are still those like combo brawlers that can get into the waters of being like Nintendo hard, old school, difficult type games.
Yeah,
that Ninja Gaiden has always been.
See, I was watching a streamer who normally speedruns by the name of Maxi Lobes. Maxi, if you ever stumble across this, I love watching your stuff, especially. I found you when you were speedrunning not Ninja Gaiden, you were speedrunning Resident Evil 7, so that's how I got onto your channel. Now you speedrun a bunch of different games. He's really good at speedrunning Resident Evil 4. He actually has his own series he does called Maxi Games Quick, where he can do a bunch of speedruns, so he's a really cool dude to watch. But he actually delved into Ninja Gaiden because he's a huge Devil May Cry player, and he didn't have a very good time with Ninja Gaiden for a few different reasons, but basically, it's a situation where people were saying in his channel, like, oh man, I love these games, like Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden. He was very adamant about saying that Ninja Gaiden and Devil May Cry, while you may think that they're alike, they're really not. They're vastly different. Like, Devil May Cry is truly a hack and slash, where Ninja Gaiden, you can't really hack and slash because you get punished in different ways. But Adam, I agree. You know, I just wanted to point out there are people that are like, you know, like these games aren't the same. But you know, I would still consider, like, I would lump them together.
Maybe only skin deep.
Yeah,
like from a marketing perspective, like, oh, a game like this could come out, something that, you know, on the shelf they look similar,
right,
from a glance. But definitely, I agree with you. Like, once you get down into it, they're pretty different.
And Maxi was having a really big issue with Ninja Gaiden in the fact that not that Devil May Cry isn't technical. I'm not trying to go there with it. There's a lot of technical things about Ninja Gaiden that, being a speedrunner myself in Ninja Gaiden, there's a lot of technical things you can do in Ninja Gaiden with the movement and the attacks that are frame perfect, and you get punished really hard on missing frame perfects. And I'm sure you'll echo the sentiment that there's enemies in Ninja Gaiden Black where if you're not frame perfect on a certain maneuver or attack, you're getting punished pretty hard too. So he was having a lot of trouble with the boss battles and things of that nature, but it was just fun to watch someone who had never played Ninja Gaiden before. I loved watching someone who had never played it before get back into it, and I think it's really cool that people are just getting into this game, so hopefully more people do just play it.
Yeah, for sure. My answer, at least, that I want to bring up...
Yeah, let's hear from you. You asked us.
All right, stick with me here. Buckle in, all right? I want you to fucking throw on I want you to pull on your fucking tinfoil hats.
Click clack.
I want you to throw reality out the window. All right.
Insert Alex Jones meme here.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm turning the freaking frogs gay. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh boy. Okay. But so throw reality out there. stick with me on this. But what about Microsoft acquiring the publishing rights? Or at least even acquiring... I mean, I don't think they'll ever acquire the studio. This is very far out there. But Microsoft and Mass Effect getting back together. The Mass Effect IP. Because, stick with me. Granted, BioWare is fucking 10 feet of shit deep right now with Anthem, with everything going on with them right now. Everything they touch is turning to shit. It is not the BioWare of 10 years ago. But, and we'll probably get more into the Mass Effect side of this whenever, we do cover that, because that is on Game Pass. The first one, that's what made me kind of think of it.
Sure.
But the Mass Effect IP really is kind of at its lowest rank right now. I mean, the controversial way that 3 kind of ended, half the fan base was like, okay, that was cool, yeah. And the other half are like, yeah, fuck this. Don't ever bring this shit around me again. That kind of, started this off and was capped off by Andromeda just being a dumpster fire kind of when it launched. That I would love to see Microsoft, with how they're acquiring studios right now, how they're acquiring IP, take a franchise like that and give it the funding, give it the talent surrounding it to make it great that 1 and specifically 2 was, to get it back to that form of... Because when Mass Effect comes right back out, because eventually, this isn't gonna... I'm sure this will never happen. But when BioWare does reboot Mass Effect, because they are going to, because it's if you want to call it a cash cow, it still has brand awareness, but it's very, very low right now. When they do reboot that, people aren't going to trust them. People aren't going to be like, it's not like Bethesda 10 years ago. Whenever we're looking at post-Oblivion, early Fallout 3, when they're like, fuck, give me anything.
At that point, you don't even have to show me a trailer.
No, exactly.
I played through Oblivion, and I put so much time into Oblivion. You release a game, you don't even have to release a fucking trailer, and I'm buying.
Right.
I don't even know what it's about, and I'm still buying it, because I'm like, it's going to be good.
And it's even and granted, they're not that strong anymore, and we're kind of diverging off the point, but Bethesda doesn't have as much grip with that and power with that franchise specifically anymore, or as much as they did leading into Skyrim and whatnot.
Not nearly as much blind trust.
Exactly. They don't have that blind trust going into it. But, at the same time, when they fucking played Elder Scrolls 6, the teaser trailer of that, my pants were off. Because I was like, that's it, I'm sold, you got me. I've been wanting this fucking game
for... JPEG of some mountains.
It literally was. And I was like, yep, I'm sold. I'm good. And I know I'm probably going to have reserves with it when it came out, but they instantly sold me of, it's been away for quite a while now. Now they're coming back with something that they've been like, everyone's been wanting this. Like, we know you've been wanting this, but we know you're wanting it, so we'll give you this. And it's very unlike the video game industry. The video game industry has a stupid fucking concept of secrecy. Well, yeah, we're not making anything. Wink, wink. We're not making anything. Wink, wink. 6 months before it comes out. Oh yeah, we're making it. Woo-hoo! Yeah. Fallout 4. Here it is. Whenever everyone knows. Of course they're making another Fallout. Of course they're making another Elder Scrolls. Of course they're making all these franchises. Of course they're going to make another Mass Effect. So, but point being, with at least on this end, you're at such a low point right now with Mass Effect and with this IP that I would love to see somebody come in. Specifically, though, Microsoft is throwing around the money right now. They're putting the right people in charge of the right franchises. At least it's looking to be so far. The trajectory is really pointed upwards for them right now. I would love to see them just throw a fucking boatload of money at BioWare. Work something out with EA, because at one point there were rumors that Microsoft was going to try to acquire EA, because Microsoft has how many billions of dollars, and they can do that.
They have fuck you money.
Basically. Right, they do. And that's kind of my point.
Which is I can't believe that they haven't reacquired competitive COD. Now, I know, PS4 has a better system link than Xbox, but, they could literally just offer Call of Duty a ton of money, but, you're just going to play on our system.
Yeah.
Call of Duty's like, nah, and then they just write a check, and they're like, yeah, and Call of Duty's going to have to be like, yeah, okay.
Right, yeah, it does all come down to the financial end of it.
As long as we've got our tin hats on. I'll take it a step further. I'll take it a step towards guy in front of a corkboard with the red cords.
Charlie!
Oh, Charlie from Always Sunny?
Yeah. Always Sunny.
Where they were trying to figure out who that guy was in the mailroom.
He's always got his mail! So I'll dive down this rabbit hole. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that BioWare is out of the question. They're not going to get BioWare because they're under EA's clutches, but maybe they can get the rights to the series. If that happens, what you got to do is you got to look back at the lineage of the studios that Microsoft now owns and the lineage of BioWare. What did BioWare make before they got big with Dragon Age and with Mass Effect? It was another sci-fi space opera. It was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Guess who made the sequel? While not very finished, not very well received, who made that sequel? It was Obsidian.
Yep.
Who makes really good computer RPGs? Obsidian or Exile. They're both owned by Microsoft. So, as long as we got our tinfoil hats on, I say, there's your conspiracy theory.
Here's like, let me build on this because we're going somewhere with this. EA Sports has such a bad rap because they have so much money and they make so much money from their games. Everybody expects so much from them. I think what they need to do as a company, and this will loop back around, I promise. They make soccer games every year. They make hockey games every year. They make basketball games every year. They make football games every year. What they need to do is they need to come out with a new engine for these games, like the Frostbite engine for FIFA. They need to release FIFA Soccer. Don't put a year on it, and every year just come out with a patch, update some stuff, update the players, update all the player rankings. And they could do this because instead of putting out this game saying, you 5 are going to work on patches and you're going to work on updates and we're taking the rest of the team and we're building a new game already. Because I feel like hockey especially is always a year behind. Yeah. They're always a year behind with everything. So if they just released NHL hockey, EA Sports NHL hockey, and then they kept their team there and said, guess what? We're keeping this hockey game for 4 years before we do a new thing. We're staying on the engine. We're going to tweak it. We're going to do whatever we have to do. We'll re-release things. We'll add things.
You're gonna get a 20 gigabyte patch once a year.
Sure, or maybe more often.
But even if you're saying every year they could, and I've thought of this before, the annualization of it, but you could do it in a much better way of, like you're saying, here's the base game that you're getting. You're buying basically the license to that game.
$60. Here's your game. Even
less. You're getting for maybe even $60, but you're getting something for the $40 to $60 range. And once a year, you're going to pay $20. We're going to give you the updated rosters. And even looking at it too, we can give you we'll do an overhaul of graphics or whatever, because at this point, they can do patches like that.
Yeah. And why couldn't they do, you can create jerseys on there. Mm-hmm. Why couldn't they put, if they're releasing one game every 4 years, why wouldn't they make, a creator mode? Like Forge and Halo or all this other stuff where you can kind of get creative with your own stuff and release it to the public, and they'll say, like Bungie used to do back in the day, hey, this is our favorite 5 game types of this month. This is our favorite 5 screenshots. Whatever, why don't they do something like that? And this is where I think they let Mass Effect players down. I think they kind of got hungry and they got greedy like EA does.
Easy layup every year.
And they were looking for the microtransaction train on Andromeda, and it just blew up in their face. So I think, coming back to Adam's conspiracy theory,
his threat.
Yeah, if Obsidian could wind up doing the Mass Effect games. Because I remember the first time I ever played Mass Effect 1, I sat down and I started playing it. And it's a little fishy at first. You're like, because, mind you, this is the first time anybody's done. I mean, granted, there's Halo and stuff, but as far as an RPG set in space, this is groundbreaking stuff. It has been done, but not as good as they did it.
It was way more Star Trek than anything else that had come before.
Yeah.
It was very hard sci-fi.
Yes.
It felt believable. It wasn't fantastic like Star Wars was.
Yeah. And when we get to that point, I remember playing it, and at first you're kind of just getting over the fact that, you're becoming acquainted with the surroundings, and you're just kind of gnawing on it, and you're like, okay. And then after a couple hours of gameplay, you're pretty much sucked in like a tractor beam. And that's what BioWare used to do. Under EA's leadership, they've kind of been led astray. I think that's what Obsidian could do. So, Adam, I really like you pulling that back around for us. I mean, that is...
It was years at a time.
Let's just say that I didn't know Obsidian had this kind of lineage, so it's a very good, I would consider it like a gold nugget there.
Yeah.
That I'm sure a lot of listeners aren't going to know either.
You hit on a real gold nugget earlier, the both of you really. I think the this is completely tangent to what we're talking about, but I think the annualized sports franchise is a perfect model for games as a service, and it's not being used.
Well,
right. I'm not really a big fan of that model, but it would really work for something that, is going to be pretty consistent over time. It's not going to change much, but there's going to be big updates on a regular basis.
Yeah, if I was a game dev, and we've had this talk, where I would release games on a service basis. I would release your initial game for $30 the first year, do some microtransactions, just like if it was an esport game, you would make skins for like your orgs, like Team Liquid skins.
It's kind of like the model you're kind of starting to allude to is kind of like what Siege is doing right now. You get your base game. You get your base game, but every year we're going to charge you whatever it is, $30 or whatever for a pass, some kind of where it's just you get this fucking deep amount of content.
Yeah,
that's worth that. But it's like the entry level's cheap to get in, but you're not. At least on my end, I'm looking at it as on the consumer end, you're not gambling too much.
Right.
If you don't want the content, you don't have to get the content, but you're going to want to get the content. But it's done in a fair way that you don't feel like you're getting gypped.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Sure.
It's a fair where on the publishing end, they are able to market this. They're able to get more people in at a lower price point, and then hopefully these people who do stick into these games as a service, they're able to keep them in and keep them saying, oh yeah, hell, I'll give them $30 a year.
There's a lot of incentive to stay current.
Exactly.
And then to allow us to elaborate, specifically Adam, I want to ask him, because I know he feels strongly on the topic. If you say, hey, like, I know as a game dev, sometimes you run out of, like, a fire. Like, I kind of feel like Adam briefly touched on Oblivion and Travis touched on Bethesda and kind of beating Fallout into the ground. I felt like they were kind of riding this wave where, like, everyone's like, fuck yeah, Fallout, fuck yeah, Fallout. And granted, there was a few of us who were like, hey, what the fuck? What about Elder Scrolls, dude? I want a new fucking Elder Scrolls. Like, Skyrim was cool, but, like, I loved Oblivion. I loved Morrowind. I want another game like that. And they were just, like, making so much money off of Skyrim, it kind of made sense for them to keep on it.
The udders weren't dry.
Fallout. Jeez. Fallout, yeah. The udders weren't dry, so they were sucking those teats. And going back to Adam, I want to ask, when we're talking about games for service, you could go to your game dev team and say, hey, guys, we're working on this game for 5 years. So we're going to release a base game, and it's going to be $30. And I want there to be a full game there. It's not going to be a half game. It's not going to be a bullshit launch. It's going to work, and it's going to be a full team. But campaign team, every year you're coming out with new content. You're coming out with another mission pack every single year for 5. Yeah. So if you want to get all 5 years of content done in 1 year, be my guest. But it better be finished, and it better be done. And I feel like you give them kind of soft deadlines. So you say, we really want our patch to come out every July 16th every year. We release the game July 16th every year. We want a new patch to come out with more campaign, more multiplayer, more skins, more content. Every year it's $20 more for the people to get more missions, more co-op missions, more multiplayer. And your team can say, hey guys, we did really well. We made a whole mission pack for year 1. Let's start working on that mission pack for year 2. And you let your team do this over time. And I feel like it would get rid of this crunch culture that we have in game dev. And I kind of wanted to bring it over to you. Do you think that could alleviate some of the crunch culture? Because everybody sees it on Twitter. Everyone's outing all these game devs for these insane crunches.
Jason Schreier is sniffing them out.
Yeah, where if you were just to say, hey, this is the game we're working on for 5 years. Get your stuff done in a year. If you want to get more done, great. If you want to get less done, that's not cool. We need it done in a year. But, like, you say, like, you're releasing the game on July 16th. Well, guess what? The game devs are done making it in May. So when, like, as soon as they're done making it, let them take a week vacation. Say, yeah, go spend a week, refresh, recharge, come back. And when you come back, start working on that mission pack 1 because I want it out next year.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with this.
Right?
So, like, as a disclaimer, I have very little experience understanding kind of the AAA development cycle and all that. I have some insight, but I'll say there are definitely people way more qualified to speak on it than me.
Give us your inside baseball right now.
With that being said, I think there's a lot of factors in AAA game design, I will say, that are huge risks, and a lot of what big developers will do, and really it's their publishers and their marketers, they have to minimize risk at every turn. And that's really the constraints that are placed on developers who would otherwise have more creative freedom. They need to produce a game that's almost guaranteed to make money. So they need to minimize their risks. One of the big risks of making a huge, like, groundbreaking title every 2 or 3 years is you have to basically work from scratch almost every time. Granted, there's going to be some infrastructure that you can recycle. There's going to be some talent from the team that you can rely on in the future. But game dev has high turnaround because of the culture of crunch and other stuff like that. There's a lot of churn.
And you will have publishers like a Ubisoft and an EA that have multiple studios underneath. For example, Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed. We know there's another Assassin's Creed coming. They're starting to stray away from the annualization of that, but at the same time, there's Ubisoft Montreal working on one Assassin's Creed, and kind of there's that overlap of they may be using the same engine, or for the next game, like I know Origins and Odyssey, they use the same engine, correct me if I'm wrong, but outside of that, the new one that's coming out that's supposedly, I believe, Ragnarok, and it's going to be Nordic themed, that's been in development before, Odyssey came out, and I would imagine it's probably being built for next gen if it's going to launch next year. I'm sure it's going to launch alongside next gen consoles, so they've been working on that for how many years now as well. So there is that overlap, but like you're saying, this culture of built around a certain time frame is so rigid now, but at the same time, there's still ways that could be better.
Right, as long as you stick the landing and you maybe start your first step into this new series or franchise or whatever, this title that's released, it's going to get periodic updates. If you stick the landing in the beginning of a console cycle, you can probably look forward to a consistent 5 years where your technology is going to be the same.
Yeah.
So there's no need to go back and create all new bespoke art assets.
I'm going to pull on a little bit of a thread that we kind of touched on earlier, and that's consumer benefit. Crunch culture, I think we all agree, it's bad. It's not good. We want to get it out. We want to have, in general, nobody's job should be their life to the extent of they have nothing outside of it in their well-being, their mental health, all of that. I want to take that view from a consumer perspective. How does that benefit the consumer? Because the longer, a dev cycle goes and a publisher says, okay, yeah, you get a 5-year window to develop this game, but if you go over that, it's going to cost more money. So, yeah, they may be getting that extra time, but if I'm looking at it, it's, okay, yeah, you get now a 6-year window, but that costs another almost $1 million. Or say, I don't know monies, I'm a fucking idiot. So, but the point being, it costs extra money. Let me throw this out here to you. If it meant you're potentially getting a better quality game, one that's going to last a little bit longer with support because teams aren't burnt out, teams aren't worked to the bone.
Or moving on.
It's
like, we released it and moving on.
They're quitting or getting laid off.
Right. Yeah. There's a longer, if you know the people making your games, you're potentially, because of that, helping them out, getting a better quality game, and they're also having a better quality of life, realistically, from a mental health aspect. How do you feel about if a publisher came out and said, yeah, the MSRP on our game is now $79.99 or $69.99? Hot. But how would you feel about that if price went up for a game?
So I think we're already kind of past the point where MSRP should have been rising on games. I think there's a tension there between the market and the producers that they don't really want it to go up. They don't want the price to inflate. But the pure fact of the matter is the cost of making games has been inflated. The expectations that we have for a AAA title are so much higher. They've been accelerating over the past 2 decades that it's almost inevitable the price is going to go up. Now, if we assume the price is always going to stay the same, developers have to make their money elsewhere, and that's why you start to see stuff like microtransactions creeping in, alternate pay models where they're going to make the money somehow, it's just not on the sticker price. If we could see the sticker price going up, along with some of those more predatory monetization tactics pulled back, I think that would be a good thing. I think it would be a more honest relationship between developers and player bases.
It's that transparency that I think a lot of consumers ask within in a multitude of industries that where you have a vested interest in, especially financially. Take for example, Metroid Prime 4 came out. Nobody heard anything about it outside of a PNG logo that they threw up during a Nintendo Direct a couple years ago. Radio silent. Where the fuck is it? Where the fuck's the Metroid Prime collection on Switch? People know these things are happening, but we don't hear anything about it. So then, where there's smoke, there's fire in terms of something's up. Like, something's off here. We should definitely be hearing about it.
And there was fire.
Yeah, and there was fire. And they came out, and I give all the credit in the world to Nintendo because I wish more publishers and developers, specifically Nintendo looking at a publishing end and a developing end on this aspect. I appreciate that transparency so much because me as a consumer who already is in on this game, you coming out and saying, hey man, this game's kind of turned to shit. We don't want to give you a shit product. And that's always been their kind of mindset that a delayed, or what is it, a bad game,
a rushed game,
forever.
A delayed game is eventually good.
Exactly.
Something like that.
So it's kind of that stance that I appreciate so much, that if a developer is coming out to me and saying, hey, like Nintendo did with that, hey, here's this game that we told you is coming out, we're having some issues with it, we're canning that, and we're starting from scratch because that's not the product we want to deliver to you, because we want you to have a quality product, because realistically, we know you will tenfold buy this product for a longer course of time. Like, I mean, Christ, look at Ocarina of Time. They've released that game how many times? Mario 64, they've released that game how many times? Yeah. They're great at doing that because it's that quality over quantity in a sense, but at the same time, they understand that transparency that's needed when you're doing something like that from, a development end, that, hey, we're scratching this, we're starting over, here's the development studio we're bringing on to help us do this because we kind of want to stick with their original vision, but also bring new life into it at the same time. That, I really appreciate, and from a consumer standpoint, I'm all for that. If everybody can do that, I think the world in general will be a better place if people are just more transparent.
I agree with you, and I wish more people agreed with you. I think it only takes a glance at the Bring Back the National Dex hashtag controversy stuff to show, though, that not everyone has that mindset, and I think it creates this adversarial relationship, and it makes that proposition risky. I wish I'm waiting on the world to change, basically, so that could happen more often, so that there could be a better relationship. But
true, but at the same time, Nintendo's putting that out to us. We're not the major sector. We're kind of, I feel pretty safe saying, hardcore gamers. We keep up with gaming news. We play games daily.
We're recording this podcast.
We're making a fucking podcast about gaming. I think we have a deep-seated interest and passion for this art medium.
I'm more knowledgeable than you.
Exactly, fucking nerds.
I know more than you.
Well, Mike, what do you think? Tossing it over to you. How do you think those kind of like quicker sprints of development time could be beneficial to a consumer?
Are you speaking about, just to make sure I'm clear on the question, are you talking about annualization and how that's better for the consumer? Or are you talking about...
I think that's basically what we were talking about. Like your theoretical game where you have a base release, and then maybe on an annual schedule, you release big content updates that cost, a fixed price.
Yeah, kind of what I outlined, like, would be a great idea for a game. Yeah. I think that it benefits consumers a lot in a multitude of ways. We're talking about a situation here where that your initial investment on a game, while it might not be that's like you guys are saying, what about a more expensive game? So if you release the game at $60 base release, and then every year it was $20 more, that's something that consumers could really benefit from, because while your initial investment is $60 and every year after that you have to spend 20 more, for a player that plays Call of Duty and buys it year after year, and then they're buying the collector's edition for $100 because they want extra double XP or whatever they want. There's people that buy that stuff for those cool skins. They're spending $100 every year on these collector's editions. I think that it would save them some money. It would give them a little clarity on what's expected of them and what they're going to play going forward. They might miss out on a whole new campaign year after year, but I said that you could have your campaign team developing these new campaigns every year too. Yeah. So I think that, like I said, I think it would be beneficial for the consumer for a multitude of reasons, but I'm the esports guy, so I'm going to bring it into the competitive scene. Kind of what you're expected to play year after year. Like every year, Call of Duty is getting put in a blender, and there's a new Call of Duty coming out, and there's this new pattern where you have to learn all this stuff on game release night. And the first tournament, it's kind of like a crapshoot. Who learned the most, the fastest? Where like games like League of Legends and Rainbow Six, they play the same game year after year, but the meta switches because there's nerfs, there's buffs, there's different maps released, so the meta kind of switches. I think that would be great for a game like Call of Duty if there was just meta switches. So if they got a good game, a boots on the ground traditional Call of Duty game, the traditional Halo guy, so bring it back to a traditional like this Modern Warfare game coming out this year. Yeah. They said this is our base release, $60. Every year after that's $20. We're going to release new guns, we're going to release new maps, we're going to release a new campaign, and we're going to nerf and we're going to buff, and we're going to have our dev team who would normally be building like building the engine, making sure the game works year after year. Instead of them like moving on to a new game after they release this first game, they can kind of keep their eyes on the game, be playing it, get feedback, see what's working, see what's not working, and be making these tweaks all the time and have a full squad instead of 2 or 3 guys stuck with making these little fixes and releasing these 100 megabyte updates. Instead, you're getting like 3 gig updates like League gets, where there's major changes, but in the right direction. I think that's what a consumer could expect from a game like this. And I think that once you get past the initial, like, oh my god, I have to play the same game for 5 years. People have played League of Legends for, what, like, now it's going to go on like 8 or 9 years, literally, and not a lot of people are complaining. They still are playing thousands of hours of League of Legends yearly.
They're playing the same
they're playing Summoner's Rift.
They're playing the same champion.
Yeah, they've been playing as Yasuo for 5 years, and they've been playing Jax for 10. Like that's what people who are like, wow, I wouldn't want to play the same game year after year, but we see it having great success in other situations. Counter-Strike Global Offensive released in 2013.
Because it's not like they don't change.
Right.
We touched on this earlier, and this kind of reminded me of CSGO. I forgot to mention it, but do you remember those like mission packs where they'd release a couple of maps?
Absolutely, and it was like $3.
Yeah, it was puddle deep. Like there were only 2 or 3 maps per pack, and there might have been like some extra.
There was a case.
You could do.
There was a case
cases that they released with it. It was kind of shallow, but you can see how that could be scaled out to. All right, we're going to do a $20 release once a year, and it's going to have this much more content.
Right.
You have a much quicker time to value. You have a quicker opportunity to get feedback from the community to see what works and what doesn't. I just think it would be a great model. I don't know why it's not being done.
Yeah, when most of those little map packs were coming out, you were still playing CSGO with me.
Yeah, that was back in like 26 or 17?
It was like 2015 for some of it.
Yeah.
So we were playing it in like 2015 and 2016, and me, while I was kind of getting involved in the competitive scene at that point in time, I've always played Counter-Strike, but I was getting into the competitive scene and trying to find a team at this point in time. So like I liked playing Mirage and Dust 2 and Cash and Inferno over and over and over again. But a friend like Adam didn't enjoy playing Cash 15 times in a day, or Mirage 15 times in a day, or D2 15 times in a day. He wanted to mix it up. So I could go into matchmaking with him, we'd play the new maps, and we would both have a blast together on it. Where if we played Mirage over and over again, sure, I'm going to have fun because I'm going to get 40 frags that game, but Adam's like bored because it's like, holy shit, I'm sitting here playing the same map for the 5th time today. So like I can understand from a competitive standpoint, while each map to me changes when I play different players. I play in an ESEA league to this day. When we play certain teams, Mirage, while it's the same map over and over again, teams can play it a little differently, and it kind of changes the whole dynamic of what's going on at all times and what's valuable, because a Counter-Strike team or a counter-terrorist team on Mirage might play very aggressive where they're trying to control middle at all times. So as a T team, you're fighting middle against all these CTs. They're throwing counter flashes from all over the place. You kind of have to use a little bit more depth. You have to have people coming from underpass to help you. You can utilize smokes in the middle to kind of cloud the CT's visions, and then they have to decide, okay, we're just going to give up middle, but when are we going to retake middle? Or you play against a team that's like completely passive in middle, and they're like, oh, you guys can have mid, but have fun coming into A and B bomb sites and have fun winning those gunfights when we have crossfire set up everywhere. Where we would play these new maps with Adam where we all would just run around because nobody really knew kind of what was going on. The competitive players had an edge because they had better aim at the end of the day.
But the positional meta never really crystallizes because it's just kind of a quick, the map's out, and now it's out of rotation.
Right, and that's what made that part of Counter-Strike so enjoyable. I loved those little map packs because just playing new maps was fun. And it might have not been like, oh my god, like competitively viable. Not every map is competitively viable, and Valve didn't care. And they didn't want every map to be competitively viable. They were just having fun making new maps. And I think you could kind of enjoy that from a consumer standpoint there. And that's something that I think consumers, under this yearly update, will say game service, kind of like a WoW, where you kind of pay a subscription, but it's not monthly, it's yearly if you want the new content. And let's face it, let's say over Christmas time, we'll say the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare is one of these game services where it's going to last for 5 years. 3 years down the road at Black Friday, a mom could pick this kid
up Call of Duty that the kid wants this new Call of Duty because it's the only one, so it is the new Call of Duty, for $5 on Black Friday because it's discounted. But she has to spend $30 extra to get the map pack. So it's $45, or she could just get him the base game and say, go ahead, Johnny, play the base game. He can only play the base maps, kind of like how original Xbox, if you guys remember that, where
kind of like H2,
and Halo 2 and even Halo 3, like you could only play the default maps, and sure, you could only play some playlists, but you could still play it. Like little Johnny, who's 11 and whose parents can't afford much, he can at least play Call of Duty. He can play with his friends, even if it's only on certain maps, and he can still play the full campaign. And then he can go through and like every Black Friday, so it's 4 years into this game, right? Every Black Friday from the years past, you can buy the new map pack for, instead of $20, it's $5 for each new map pack.
Yeah. I think a long life cycle like that is also important because games, it's so hard to convince, I think, a good portion of gamers to buy a game at full price. Unless they're previously invested in it, they're going to look at something that's like new off the shelf, they've never heard of it before, and they're like, or they're browsing through Steam, and they're like, why would I spend $60 on this? I have no idea what I'm getting myself into.
And I can kind of chime in with that because I feel like out of all of us, I'm the collector in the group. Like that's kind of my little hobby that I do. I collect games. I'm still a physical media junkie. I mean, I do buy digital. Obviously, we're doing a damn podcast about a digital gaming service that I'm subscribed to and happily subscribed to. But I do love the collecting end of that. With that being said, there's certain games I'll look at, a release calendar for 6 months in advance, and it's kind of like movies. So like, oh, I know I definitely want to go see that movie when it comes out. I definitely want to go see that movie. Right now, I'm looking at it. I definitely want to play Death Stranding. Oh, I know we're talking about PlayStation on the Xbox podcast, but I want to play Death Stranding. I look at it. I want to play Doom Eternal on my Xbox.
I mean, we're gamers. We're not Neanderthals and Xbox junkies who are going to try to pretend like there's not other content in other situations. Like
that's why
Mario Maker, we were just playing it before we started the podcast. Like every system has their pros and cons. You know
absolutely,
what I mean?
And that's what and talking about that transparency. That's why at the beginning of the show I ask you what you're playing, and I truly mean what you're playing. It doesn't. I play shit all the time that isn't on Xbox Game Pass.
Right.
But
one day I'm going to say I'm back to playing Tom Clancy's Rogue Spear, and you two are going to laugh, and everyone's going to be like, what the fuck's Tom Clancy's Rogue Spear? And they're going to Google it and be like, 1999 release date? What is this guy doing?
24 players on Voobly?
That's it?
But kind of circling back to what Adam was saying, though, I'm the collector of this. So when I look at it, though, there's certain games that I do buy right off the bat that I know I'm willing to go out and shell the $60 out to go and buy these day one because not only do I want to be part of that conversation or whatever, but more importantly, I'm looking forward to this game. That's a day one purchase to me. I'm willing to take that hit because I know what I'm getting into.
Right.
There's certain games, though, that it's like, for example, Assassin's Creed, what we were talking before. There's tons of people who were saying, hey, you gotta try Origin. It's different because I've always been, I don't like the annualization of Assassin's Creed. It feels very shallow to me. It doesn't feel like a game that's worth my $60 or my time really playing, to be quite frank. But I hear all these people saying, no, Assassin's Creed is now an action RPG. Then it starts to scratch that itch, but I'm like, yeah, but Mario Odyssey came out the same exact day with that. I know what I'm getting with that, and I really like that. So it's kind of like the, what is it, the Top Gear meme. It's like, I like this, but this is awesome. Like that.
You guys ready for the bombshell moment? Travis just said that he's playing Super Mario Maker in 2019, which, if you put it beside NES Mario, there's a few differences. But guess what, guys? It's the same fucking game that was released in 1982, and people are still playing the fucking thing. So
right.
That proves to you this game by service thing that we're talking to you about. There's the bombshell moment. People are spending money on Mario in freaking 2019, and like, cool, I can make my own maps. Like, that's awesome. But guess what? The gameplay is pretty much the fucking same as it has been for all these years. Yeah, and it's not the 3D like Mario 64, which I think in today's day and age would do really well if they made a new game like that. But it's a side-scrolling, you know what I mean? Like, people love that shit too. So, like, you don't have to release a new game every year with all these cool new creations. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no.
But I feel like that was important to point out for the point we're trying to get across to you guys as a podcast and as a listening audience. We just want to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I was saying with games like Assassin's Creed, I'm like, I don't know.
I never even liked the first one.
No.
So I haven't played it since.
Right, exactly. And I'm kind of the same way. I haven't played since the second one.
Yeah.
So it was almost 10 years at that point that it's like, I don't really care for that. And we have friends that that's the only game they buy every year.
And that's cool.
That's great because that's what you like, but you know what you're getting every year with that. But with me, and being a collector and stuff like that, like, I don't need to buy that right now. I'm good with spending $20 when I see it go on sale. I get the ping notification on Reddit that says PlayStation 4 or Xbox One deals or whatever. Assassin's Creed Origins, $20 at Best Buy today. And it's like, okay, cool. I'll roll the dice for $20. If I play it and get 5 hours out of it, realistically, paying $20 to be amused for 5 hours,
That's not bad.
that's not bad.
And that's like,
And that's also why I'll always go back. That's why I always say gaming is the best value in entertainment. Period.
Yeah.
Hands down.
absolutely. And this is to go on with Travis. There's different types of gamers, and this specific style and everything we're talking about, there's different types of gamers. Travis has said a million times on this show, and he'll say it a million more, that he's a collector. He likes to play a bunch of different games, and he doesn't really care if he's the type of person that can kind of spread his interest out. Adam has his fail-safes that he falls back to all the time. I have those, but to more hardcore levels than both of these guys do. I have Halo and I have CSGO that I have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours put into these games, where Adam is a hardcore, he'll fall back on Fallout and stuff, but he still spreads his time out. I'm the type of person who, like, I never want to buy a new game. And people are like, well, why don't you buy Battalion 1944, which someone gifted to me? And it's like, because even though it's only $14, I'm going to play it for a little bit, get bored, and fall back on Counter-Strike. Or I'm going to fall back on Halo. And it's been that way since Halo 2, and like Gears of War would come out, and I'd kind of like be like, wow, like I can get in on Gears and put some time into Gears. But guess what? I always fell back to Halo. I always went back to Halo with every console game I ever bought. And on PC, it's the same thing. These Steam sales come out, and people are like, buy this, and this game. It's really cool. And I'm like, yeah, sure, for you, like you enjoy that. But guess what? I'm back on Counter-Strike again. It's like the crack. I'm like a crack addict. I can't get off of it.
Hey man, you got that fixed?
I'm like,
That's
bro, I'm just looking for like, I'm like,
got any keys?
I'm tapping on that. I'm tapping on that elbow vein, baby. I'm looking for that fix again, and that's the way it is for me. But for someone like Travis, and this is what's very important for everyone to hear, is that video gamers and video games are for everyone, and everyone enjoys them in their own way. Travis likes to play a bunch of different games. I do enjoy playing different games, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to spend $60 on a game that I'm going to play for 2 hours and then it's going to collect dust because I'm just going to fall back. And I didn't even finish Red Dead Redemption 2, and I was so pumped to play that game. But I got into it and I'm like, wow, like this game is cool, but it's a lot like Red Dead 1. It's okay, but like,
You've yeed your last haul.
yeah, I didn't finish Red Dead 2, bro. But I always fall back on these.
Goddamn faith be back.
and there's gamers like me out there, but there's gamers like Travis, and there's gamers like Adams, and everybody does their own thing. But I think that this service that we're talking about, that we've been rambling on about, I think everybody, from Travis to Adam to me, I think everybody benefits from a service that they buy this game and it gets a ton of new content all the time.
To just kind of cap off this conversation, this kind of long-form discussion that we kind of went on with Party Chat, let me throw this out there and kind of bring it back to Game Pass. How do you see services like Game Pass? Because they're going to just start becoming the norm, for sure.
Well, they have to.
Right, and because
Xbox is trailblazing in that sense.
Right.
Well, PS was doing it with games with PS Plus, but Xbox was doing it with games with Gold too. But this is different because you're not buying the stuff. Like, you're paying a subscription. Like this is basically taking like your Family Video and Blockbuster membership, and it's just it's making it to today, to 2019.
To an extent, it is the Netflix of gaming, but you saw it with, like you were saying, games with Gold with Xbox, then PS Plus, and then we saw PS Now come out,
right?
Streaming, things like that, which is very ahead of its time when it first dropped. But then you saw Xbox come out. Here's our game service, but guess what? You can download them. You can download them, and guess what? All of our exclusives, while limited at the time, are dropping day and date, included with the service. So it's just going to become the norm. Now you're seeing, EA Access. You're seeing Ubisoft service that they just announced at E3. You're seeing all these different services come out because we're a subscription world now, basically, for entertainment. I'm curious, how does this all fit in, like you were saying, on the development side? Devs are probably looking at this as like, that's great. My gamer side is saying, hell yeah. And also thinking, too, this is getting our game in front of more people. But then from the publishing end, you're probably looking at it, they're saying, okay, that's cool. They're getting a nice big check, which makes them happy. But then developers are probably like, okay, where are we getting money from? Because we're not making $60 on a game. We're getting the subscription, but if we're not getting that $60 up front, the heads of development studios are looking at that as, where's our cut going to come? Are we going to lose money in the short term for this? Because we need that to pay people's paychecks and stuff like that. So I'm just curious, this is going to be a big benefit to the consumer long term. I definitely think so. But how do you see this gaming service in terms of kind of like Game Pass is, like, where it's a monthly payment and you get games with it, yada yada.
Yeah.
What does a world where that gels with both consumers, developers, and publishers, how do you see that becoming a harmony between everybody?
Well, this is something that's even happening today on Xbox Game Pass. So there's a new golf game, if people aren't aware, if you're not into golf games. It's not Tiger Woods golf anymore. And they did release Rory McIlroy Tour, but it was kind of released in a way that I'm explaining, like, we're going to release this game, but it's not getting a yearly update. It's just going to be Rory McIlroy Tour. We'll release new updates. We'll release new courses, but that's basically it.
Weren't they supposed to, whenever they originally released it, they didn't put a date on it because they were going to
keep updating it.
Yeah, just kind of trailblazing.
Yeah, and they sold the rights to the PGA Tour to a game that was made on PC originally called the Golf Club.
Oh yeah,
and
that's right.
it's super realistic. It's a fantastic game, but they have the Golf Club 2019, and then there's a game called the Golf Club 2, and that's on Game Pass. But the Golf Club 2019 isn't on Game Pass. And your question about, are game devs going to see money from this Game Pass deal? My answer to you is, like, Resident Evil 4 is coming to Game Pass. Metal Gear Solid 5 is coming to Game Pass. Now, there are newer games being released to Game Pass, but those games are seeming like Xbox has already worked out a deal with the devs that the devs seem like it makes sense.
I would assume there's some negotiation.
Oh,
sure.
Where Microsoft is paying them out to be for the privilege of being on.
I guess I should clarify more question a little bit more in terms of new games, because more and more services are going to start offering new games day and date. Like the Xbox Game Pass model, which is absolutely awesome for consumers like us. We're getting Halo Infinite day and date for $10 a month or whatever. I got to pay pay $10 and I can play Halo Infinite for a month.
Yeah.
And that's it. But
here's the protection. You were literally just about to answer your question. If they pull it off of Game Pass, you don't have the game anymore.
Right.
So
I'm saying more, how do we get agreeable ecosystem, I think is the best way of me trying to say it, where everybody lives in conjunction together happily between consumers, devs, and publishers with services like this.
I think Mike was getting at this earlier with the diversity of gamers and the diversity of taste, where I think everyone here can say they have a game that, every once in a while when it comes out, they know they're going to buy it full price on release, no questions asked. Like, they know they want it, they're going to get it. And I think every gamer has those games for themselves. And that's never going to go away. Where the Game Pass fills in is the broader cultural conversation where you're like, oh yeah, I kind of want to stay up to current events in games. Like, I want to experience the newer things. Even though I'm not, like, totally invested in this series or that, I still want to be able to, like, play what's new. And so Game Pass gives you the opportunity to play games that you wouldn't drop $60 on release, that you don't mind if they go away. Like, before, the way things are now, or at least before Game Pass, is if you wanted to buy a game for $20 that you weren't that interested in, you had to wait years for it to come down in price.
Sure.
Now, all these games are available to you basically on release that you're not totally invested in, but you still want to try them out. So you have this library of low-interest games that you have on the pass, and you have the high-interest ones that you know you're going to pay to own them.
Here's another point to just add on to you, and what you're saying is, we haven't seen it yet, so we're not 100% sure how this whole system's going to work. We have ideas, but when we were younger, I remember I would see a game on TV, and I'd be like, I really want to play that, but what else has that company made? And then you go to your nearest rental store, and you're like, hey, do you have this game yet? Oh, yeah, we just got it. Someone just returned it. They really liked it. Do you want to rent it? Yeah, I'll take it out. How long are you going to keep it? I don't know. A couple days, so we'll rent it for 3 days. Then you take it home and you play it, and you're like, I really enjoy this game. You take the game back to the rental company, you return it. Then you go to the store and you buy said game. Maybe Xbox Game Pass, maybe it'll be something where if I was a game dev, I'll be like, I release my game on your Game Pass for 1 month or 2 months at release, and then after that, you're going to pull it. So that way, if someone has Game Pass and they try it the first month, and they're like, I really like this game. play it the second month. I really like this game. And Xbox says at the beginning of the month, hey, by the way, Halo Infinite's coming off of Game Pass. It's not going to be... Well, Halo Infinite's going to be on Game Pass because it's a Microsoft game, but an outside company that might not be owned by Xbox might just say, hey, put our game on your Game Pass for a month or 2 months. Give people the chance to try it, and if they like it, pull it off your Game Pass, and when they pull it off, they'll go and buy it.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be like a rental type situation where they can try the game, and if you really do enjoy it, you'll be able to go buy it.
It definitely stands in for the old rental model that doesn't really exist anymore.
Right.
But I think that's a great idea. I would like to see something come about where if you had a game on Game Pass and its life on that service is going to expire, maybe you get like a little bit of a kickback, like, hey, here's $10 off if you buy from these retailers or from
buy it digitally now, save $10.
Exactly. Because that way the publisher knows, hey, we're pulling in all these people who wouldn't have spent a cent on our game to begin with because they're not going to buy full price.
Exactly.
And if they buy it down the line, used, price down, like, we're not going to see any of that money. We're going to get these people in because it's on Game Pass. And now, if they want to buy it, there's nothing really disincentivizing them from buying it if they want to. There's not like that backlash that you might get where if you don't have that discount feature in there, I think people might get mad that like, oh, you're taking the game away. Like, now I'm angry at you and I'm going to punish you by not spending money on your game.
Sure.
That's like a crucial element that I think would really complete the circle.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe Adam would probably know this more, but doesn't Discord with their gaming service, don't they have something like that where it's like, sort of like Game Pass or whatever it may be, this gaming service, you pay monthly and you get X amount of games in there, that if you decide, hey, I'm playing this for whatever it is, $5 a month, I like this game, I want to buy this, I think they give you a discount, kind of like that, where you're getting like, hey, if you like the game, great, you want to buy it, since you're a member with us, you get 10% off. Right?
I'd have to look that up, but that sounds plausible.
Yeah, I think it's something like that, but I know there's a couple services like that. Like we're now starting to see with Xbox Game Pass, they've now released the ultimate version of this that encompasses both Xbox Live Gold and Game Pass for $15 a month. Then now you're going to start to see, like you guys, if you have Gold, you can buy games, you get a discount because you have Gold with certain games when they're on sale. Kind of like PS Plus. You'll see if you have PS Plus. Yeah, we have a sale going on. God of War is $30 this week. Normally it's $60. It's $30 this week. If you have PS Plus, though, it's $25 for you, or something like that. Like, I think you're going to start seeing that more now with services like, and once again, I think Microsoft is taking the first steps in doing this by combining their online service and now their game subscription service, that you're going to start to see more things like that, because more and more people, from a consumer standpoint, are wanting this added value to everything.
Retail discounts for having subscription membership.
Yes, 100%. It's like the Sam's Club model almost. You're buying this membership, and you're going to get these amount of discounts. So,
one more thing, where that could really dovetail in with what we were talking about earlier, with games that have like annual or semi-annual updates for large amounts of money, like big updates with not full price tags, but $20 or whatever. If you were a member on one of these subscription services, you'd be getting a discount on the updates too, and that would incentivize you to not only stay on the franchise, on the game that's getting updated, but on the service as well, because you're like, I know I'm going to play this for 5 years, I'm going to stay on the service.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree to that. So thank you, Quinn W, for offering up that question that we
basically made our episode.
That you totally went off on a tangent with. Thank you, Quinn.
That answer was what you were looking for, and we hope that we gave you a complete answer.
So, with that being said, this has been our first kind of deep dive of a party chat episode of the Game Pass Gamecast. As always, you can find us on all major podcasting services, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all that shit, Anchor. You could always find us on YouTube as well at Bonus Accessory, our channel name. But we post new episodes every Friday. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that shit. Share us. Give us 5 stars. Give us a comment. I see a lot of people commenting on there now and giving us 5-star reviews, which is awesome. One specifically from Joe Pesci Fangirl. Whoever you are, you're the love of my life. So I hope to meet you one day. The fact that your name is Joe Pesci Fangirl, I really want to talk to you about that. But with that being
He's just
said,
a kid, Ma!
He's just a kid, Ma!
We could take him.
With that being said, Mike, where can people find you?
I'm going to be on Xbox at LL, Toy Soldier LL, on Twitter at Toy Soldier. The second O is an X. And on Twitch at MP_Toy Soldier. Log on to there, see me speed running some Ninja Gaiden Black. I'm going to sub 2 hour that bitch very soon. And playing some Halo and some other variety games.
Nice. And Adam, where can people find you?
Hit me up on the Bird site, that is Twitter, at AC_Marshy. That's AC_MARSHY.
And as always, I am your host, Travis White, aka Travelus, on most internet platforms. You can find me on Twitter at Travelus_. You can find me on Twitch, streaming every now and then. I need to get back to streaming. I haven't done it in a while, but you can find me at twitch.tv/Travelus_. And you can find me on Xbox Live at just regular Travelus. One day I will get rid of those underscores. It'll happen someday. Like I said, I'll give those people like $20 fucking.
Hashtag free Travelus.
That's right. You goddamn right. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you